everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are along Kazue Souma's route, and we are disclosing to him more of the sordid secrets of the Shinsengumi. He's taking things quite well, I think. We just keep telling him worse and worse things as time goes on, the poor guy. Well, let's finish letting Sanin explain things to him. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. This is how deep the well goes. The shogunate will be affected. He seemed to picture it in his head, and Souma was at a loss for words. Hearing it articulated in front of me made me feel the secret's burden more than I had a moment ago. If you think this information is too much for you to handle, then forget everything I just said. Yeah, like that's possible. Does that mean you're gonna kill him? You can still fight as a warrior of the Shinsengumi without being exposed to these truths. He's already been exposed to the truths. It is not wrong of you to desire a life that is more well-adjusted and safe. This is a path that you have, and one that I do not, and can never go down again. I didn't understand how Sanin could draw the comparison between himself and Souma, but I could sense some of his usual self-derision. But even then, Souma stood confidently. No, I refuse to forget. Despite acknowledging how dark the implications were, he proudly took a step forward. These are secrets that both the Shinsengumi captains and Yukimura have protected. You guys have been hurt, even suffered for all of this, but none of you looked away or pretended to ignore this reality. How could you tell me to turn my back and forget everything after all that you told me? I could never do such a thing. Souma. I will never turn my back on this, even if that means the path I take will be a dark one. Good man. I will be here until the end. That is my fate as a member of the Shinsengumi. I think I'm beginning to see what Kondo and Hijikata see in you. Sanin gave a small laugh. In fact, it seemed like a genuine laugh rather than his usual snideness or self-deprecation. Then, allow me to inform Hijikata officially. Souma Yukimura, it has been an honor, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. When Sanin left, Souma gave a big sigh. Good job, Souma. I feel like it's been a long while since I've seen Sanin so happy. Really? Yes, I think he was very impressed on how bold you were. Even from my perspective, I think the way Souma acted was quite gallant. He never showed any doubts, and he looked straight into Sanin's eyes and confronted all of the Shinsengumi's dark secrets. You were really admirable. In that moment, I felt like more of an older sister rather than his teacher, and I smiled. Souma gave a small laugh and shook his head. I really am happy that you're praising me, but to be honest, I was really nervous. See, look. When I was talking, my hands were shaking the whole time. Well, apparently I didn't notice. I wonder if Sanin did. Then he lifted his hands in front of me, which were trembling non-stop. Aw, poor boy. I touched them with my fingertips. You're right. You're shaking so much. You must have been so nervous. Well, the shake is, Nothing. Well, I guess you could say I'm still kind of nervous. Oh, now he's shaking because he's nervous because of me? He turned his eyes away, but Souma kept his hands up. I cocked my head in confusion. And that's how the night in which our secrets were revealed ended for me and Souma. Very eventful night, and some skipping to do. And here I choose I still want to help. This time I went to help with Ito, which is a very dark path. Please, let me help you with Ito. Kondo stared back at me, watching me with what looked like a fierce determination, as if he was looking to analyze my own, and eventually...
Very well, you may accompany us.
Afterwards, Ito obliged to Kondo's invite and visited his second home.
To what do I owe the pleasure of being summoned here before you today? Well, I could perhaps hazard a guess, unless you want to ask me something. Hello, Ito. Thank you for coming tonight. I've called you here to have a discussion. It's about the current political climate. We've come to a realization that we must come to a consensus about how to move forward from here. Kondo, save the business talk for later. First, let's get warmed up.
Hijikata reached out for the sake and poured some for Ito.
Oh my. Who would have thought I'd ever have Hijikata pour me a cup of sake?
That is quite the honor.
Oh, don't be like that. It's not like any of us have your education. It took us a while to get up to your speed. We finally come to realize that you were right this whole time. And there better not be some poison in this sake. What, you can't trust me? Fine.
Hijikata poured Ito's sake into his cup and drank it all.
How's this? You can now see that there's no poison inside.
Yeah, we have some less pleasant methods of disposing of you later.
My, that was very rude of me, and then I shall take a sip as well.
Ito took a sip of the sake. As the sake got more and more into his system, Ito grew rosy in his cheeks, and he was jollier than usual. Oh dear, I don't remember seeing him that red-faced before.
Are you familiar with when the Seishi Aizawa wrote the new debate and wrote about the dangers of the outside world? And that was 40 years ago. 40! Do you know how much change has been brought on because of the shogunate? You are absolutely right, Ito. The Bakushin are so stubborn. Yes, you agree. I heard the rumors that the shogunate turned the land of Ezo collateral by borrowing money from a foreign country, and now wants to westernize the troops. What? Is that true? Yes, this intel came to me from a very reliable source. Once you sell off your land, all you can do is gain it back through war. If we leave the country to people who insist on their horrible diplomacy, then Japan will be reduced to nothing more than a colony for the West. I see. Kondo, this means we'll have to rethink a lot of things.
It's so weird seeing Hijikata smile so much for this.
You're right. Ito, it would be an honor if you would continue to guide us on such matters in the future. Yes, of course. As Confucius once said, gentlemen are undignified if they are frivolous, and they aren't stubborn after learning. All of you must learn to open your minds to proper knowledge, or you will follow the path of hard-headedness. Yeah, we might be on different paths, but we're all headed for the same destination. Another drink, Ito? Yes, I'd love some, and the sake is very easy to drink.
Here you are. It was perfectly normal alcohol, no poison or drugs, but we were making him drunk in order to murder him. How was that any different than me pouring poison straight into his cup?
My goodness, dear, you're shaking. Are you all right? Are you feeling ill? You don't need to worry about this one, Ito. I'm sure it's just nervousness from speaking to you.
Because he's such a great and impressive man?
Oh my, am I so terribly intriguing? This is a naughty one right here.
He is really drunk.
Yeah, this one has their moments sometimes. God, kid, you need a little self-control.
The subtle message was clear. Hide your emotions. I swallowed and nodded. It had been my choice to help with Ito's assassination. The least I could do now was not get in the way. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, rubbish. This is a party. We needn't be so stiff. Haha, Ito, you truly are a man worthy of distinction. Is there anything else you want to ask me? I can answer anything.
Time passed, and Ito was drunk.
Well, it was nice to enjoy a meaningful conversation. And now, farewell. Very well. Since it's dark out, please be sure to be careful when you leave. Oh, to whom do you think you are speaking? There are no scoundrels that would dare think of killing me in Kyoto.
Oh, how wrong you are. After spending all night expounding on his theories for the advancement of Japanese society, Ito drunkenly stumbled off into the darkness. I watched him disappear. It would be the last time I would see him alive. I just quietly stared. I suddenly felt Kondo's big hands on top of my shoulders.
This sure leaves a bitter taste in your mouth, doesn't it? It's the path we chose. It's our duty to do this. I know it's not something we should be proud of. In order for us to progress, sometimes we have to do dirty jobs.
My heart felt conflicted. I couldn't say anything. I was the one who chose to be here, but still. Oh. Now I want to be... Every time they do that, I'm like, oh no, I want to be on Hijikata's route. Whoever I made happy, I'm like, I want to be on everybody. Where's my harem endings, people? We need harem endings for our girl games. Come on.
Look, Kondo and you. While we're at it, this one's not on your head, all right? I made the plan. I gave the orders.
It doesn't matter, we were still in on it. What happened afterwards was not something I care to remember. Ito, too drunk to fight back, was quickly killed by the men waiting for him. But the night was far from over. Battle and bloodshed awaited at Aburano Koji for Nagakura and the men sent to ambush the guardians of the imperial tomb. Fate waited for Okita, convalescing at the headquarters of Fudodo village. For them, for all of us, we waited a night after which nothing would be the same. Today felt like the longest day of the year, and it dragged on so that seconds ticked one by one. Finally, the night was drawing to its close, moments before dawn emerged, when the sky was its darkest. I had been sitting beside Soma, who stood as the sentry while we gazed upon the overcast sky.
Nothing of note around the gate today. Man, it's been strangely quiet.
I know.
Yukimura, you're not obliged to stand watch here with me. I mean, look at the time. You should head to your room and get some sleep.
I should, but I've just been feeling so restless.
I see where you're coming from. Today has been a whirlwind.
The assassination of Kashitoro Ito sparked an incident later known as the Aburano Koji incident, erupted between the Shinsengumi and the guard. As fate would have it, this moment of vulnerability invited Kazuma and his men to attack the compounds. Since most of the Shinsengumi captains were occupied elsewhere, we suffered heavy casualties. With all of us being pulled in so many directions, it was hard to find a moment of reprieve, let alone quiet, in order to process how comfortless we all felt. Only just a while ago did things finally settle down. So I was sure the other warriors were completely exhausted, sleeping as if they'd never wake again. From what Harada had said to me, it seemed like the battle at Aburano Koji was a bloody, drawn-out one. It was only supposed to be between the Shinsengumi and the guard, but the Satsuma and the demons ended up participating as well. In the middle of the fray, Heisuke had suffered a fatal wound. As they were carrying his unconscious body to the compounds, everything became bleak as I felt the blood drain from my face in shock. I want to stay up just a little while longer. I'm worried about Heisuke.
Everything will be okay, Yukimura. Toto is a strong man. Both Yamazaki and Colonel Sanin are doing their very best to give him care. Let's have faith.
Thanks, Soma. He was doing his best to offer me some support. That I could appreciate. I suppose that all we could do was pray for the best rather than wallow in the gloom of it all. I fluttered my eyes a few times to fight back the tears, and I turned to face Soma. So, what became of the guard members apart from Heisuke?
I don't know much either. Some didn't make it, and some ran away, and some were even killed. At least, that's what I heard. But all we know for sure is that Ito is dead. This may mean the organization is done for.
Right, makes sense. As someone who was somewhat involved in Ito's death, the reality of this stung quite a bit. I knew, though, deep down, that there was no other choice we had. But I couldn't help but think about whether all of this was the right thing to do. Rarely are we trusted to make decisions alone. What if there was another way? Well, it's too late now. No use crying over spilled milk. If there was something else we could have done, instead of killing Ito, this wouldn't have happened.
Huh, to hell with you all. Don't pretend to be the good guy now.
A deep voice came from nowhere to interrupt me in the middle of my thought. The person who had stepped forward before us was a man with a fury burning in his eyes. I'm guessing it's Miki. Yep. Miki?
What are you doing here?
Oh, Miki's battle stance for the first time. Gorgeous.
Isn't it obvious? It's because of what you were just talking about. I was attacked by both the Shinsengumi and the Satsuma at Aburano Koji.
Miki was glaring at the compounds with tired eyes, and he was almost dragging himself to move forward. Dripping from his ragged and torn clothing were patches of blood stains, and he still had his sword drawn.
Hattori died there. Mona died there. Toro died there. And my brother.
Miki's body swayed back and forth. He appeared so disoriented as he drew closer to the compounds. When Miki came near us, Soma drew out his sword. Oh, I feel bad for him.
Wait, Saburo Miki, where do you think you're going? You don't know. I'm paying Kono and Hijikata a little visit. I'm going to kill Hijikata for making the order. I'm going to kill Kondo for approving it. And I'm going to kill the captains for doing nothing to stop it. I'm going to chop off their arms and then pry their legs from their sockets. Then I'm going to rip out their beating hearts and snap their necks. I won't be satisfied until the bodies of your men are strung up for display on every street corner of Kyoto, corner to corner. The hell you won't.
Both of them look crazy.
I won't let you do any of that. I'll stop you myself. So you're going to get in my way again? Get out of my way, you insolent child.
Oh.
You bastard.
You're letting your anger fight for you, swinging blindly without any technique. Chikage Kazuma was way faster than you, and stronger too.
You're just a page. Who are you telling me how to use my sword?
Besides, you have no right to be angry. I heard that you guys were plotting to assassinate our chief first.
So what if we were? Kono is just a bully commanding his way to the top and pretending to be a real samurai. He has no formal education. He has no bearing on the current events. He's just a sword slinger from the country. My brother would have been far and away a better Shinsengumi chief than he ever would be.
So that's why he was going to kill Chief? To take over the Shinsengumi? We would never let that happen. The shrieking clash of their blades meeting was hurting my ears as it cut through the darkness. Why am I just standing here? Why aren't I running for help? I can't just sit here watching them fight. I have to do whatever I can to help Soma. Soma, hang in there. I'm going to call someone.
Always getting in the way.
As I attempted to make a run for the building, Miki clicked his tongue maliciously, and he darted toward me. He was glowing with a vengeful fury, and his glare could have stopped me in my tracks.
You tell Kondo. What you did was unforgivable. I will see to it myself that each of your tongues will be carved out of your throats.
He flashed one last hateful expression, as if he was going to kill me then and there, but he ran off. Perhaps Miki knew that he would die if he strained himself too hard. Then Soma struck his sword into the ground out of frustration and fell to his knees.
Damn, I let him go.
Soma, are you hurt at all?
I'm fine. We must report to Chief Kondo.
Right. We ran into the compounds hastily, but I couldn't shake Miki's shrill threats from my head. For us, Ito presented a threat as a rival for Kondo's power, and his attempt to assassinate Kondo made it untenable for him to ignore him. But for Miki, his anger and threats came from what we did to a member of his family. Even after Miki had disappeared, his hex echoed over and over in my head, giving me anxiety over what we could still do. After hearing different sides from different people, we were finally able to see the whole picture. Kazuma's attack on the compounds was a diversion, which resulted in many wounded soldiers, but luckily no deaths. On the contrary, the Aburano Koji incident had resulted in 4 deaths, including Ito of the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. The fallen were all former Shinsengumi warriors, so I had been mildly familiar with some of them. Ito, Monai, Hattori, and Heisuke. At least that's what we had told the public. Heisuke was now pronounced dead to the public eye. But in reality, he is a fury. Heisuke, there you are.
Oh, Chizuru, Soma, don't scare me like that.
A familiar voice had returned in the dojo, which was dim and empty during these hours. Heisuke stood alone in the dojo, and he smiled wryly as he turned to face us.
This is so weird to me. When I joined the guard, I thought I'd never see you guys again. Who'd have thought I'd come back like this, though, huh?
How do you feel?
I feel totally fine, I guess. See, look. My injury was super deep, but now there's no scar, nothing left to look at.
Heisuke laughed lightheartedly, and he swung his arm back and forth. Just like he said, there was no sign that he was hurt at all. But that didn't surprise me. Heisuke unfortunately couldn't stay out in the sun anymore, but now his body could heal at a superhuman rate. Now he was a fury. Heisuke,
Don't give me that face. Honestly, I don't remember much. Becoming a fury, I mean. All I knew was it hurt, and the pain was killing me, and that I didn't want to die. Then, boom, all of a sudden I'm a fury. The whole time, though, I was thinking to myself that dying would probably be better than being a fury.
Heisuke was taken aback now, as if he had said something to embarrass himself. We stood there silently. Although the wounds all over his body had disappeared as if he had never fought at all, there was still a hole where his heart used to be. Or at least, that was the impression he gave me.
So, you guys looking for me or something? Sup?
Ah, yes. Hijikata asked us to come find you. He wants us to make arrangements to make your life a little easier.
Oh yeah, huh. There isn't too much I can really do from now on. Can't go to a tea house or a cafe, or spend time with you guys eating odongo during the day. I can't go out drinking with Sano and Shin anymore, too.
Aww. What could we even say to Heisuke to lighten how desolate he felt in his new life? He was still alive, but for all intents and purposes, he was dead to the rest of the world. He now had to make do with navigating the rest of his life in the dreariness of nightfall.
Toto, if there's anything we could do for you, please let us know.
Yes, of course. We'll do anything to cheer you up, Heisuke. I'm not sure anything I make would be as good as the shops in Kyoto, but I can make odongo.
Yeah, if you want to drink with Harada, then I'll buy sake for you every day.
You guys, you trying to cheer me up now?
Even if we weren't doing the best job, I guess our intentions have been clearly read by Heisuke. His expression softened a little.
Gonna buy me sake, huh? But I wonder why. He doesn't look like much, that Soma, but every time I see him, I keep thinking of someone.
Why are you talking about him like he's not there? Who?
Ryunosuke Ibuki.
I thought I'd heard that name before. Oh, tell me you forgot again. This will be the second time you forgot the name and they brought it up again. I was trying to think of where I'd heard it before, but Heisuke then gave me a hint.
I might have mentioned him in the past, but you don't know him. He was in the Shinsengumi long before Soma, or even you joined Chizuru.
So, is he a former warrior?
Well, he was one of us, but he wasn't a warrior.
He was one of you guys, but not a warrior? I was in a similar position, so I couldn't help but feel a certain kinship in that regard. If what Heisuke had said was true, then there was someone else like me in the Shinsengumi.
His story isn't exactly a fun one, but if you want to hear it, I'll tell you. All about Ryunosuke Ibuki and the Roshigumi.
Heisuke looked at me as he asked, and I said, I'd love to hear it. I really do want to know. I hope he really does tell us the story. Ryunosuke Ibuki. I had never met him, nor had I heard about him. Yes, I had, don't lie. I wasn't even sure what he looked like, but I'd love to know more about him, Heisuke. I was urged by a strange curiosity to learn more about him, so we nodded toward each other.
Yeah, I haven't been with the Shinsengumi for long, so any chance I get to know more, I'll take it, especially when it comes to our history. I want to know just what drove you to join us and what it took to get there.
Heisuke smiled brightly, and he took a deep breath before beginning his story. Ah, we are getting the story. A story about a time before us, about the Roshigumi. Aside from Kondo's designation as chief, there was another position known as the head captain. And there he is. The title was fulfilled by someone named Kamo Serizawa.
Ah, since he was a former leader of the Shinsengumi, I know who you're talking about, but no one really told us much about him.
Yeah, because he was a total dick. They'd rather forget about him.
So, what kind of person was Serizawa?
It's a little hard to explain, but what I can say for sure was that he wasn't a great guy. He would extort money from people, get all drunk and rowdy at Shimbara, and he'd take bribes from merchants all the time. And he's the guy who bought the Furies into the Shinsengumi and stuff.
Wait, so this guy was doing all that and was still a leader of this organization?
I could see how Soma was a little surprised, given how the Shinsengumi as he knew it was led by Kondo, who always acted as a model authority. Soma's voice had a hint of judgment, but Heisuke simply smiled back and continued with his tale.
Yeah, the guy was a real piece of work. It wasn't crazy for him to get into brawls often. But without him, the Roshigumi wouldn't have even been able to eat. See, Kondo and Hijikata have all their grand philosophies now, but back then they weren't able to put that stuff into practice. It was Serizawa who taught them how to get things done. He always said, you can't put food on the table pretending to be a warrior. He knew it. And so, Ryunosuke Ibuki, The guy I was telling you about was the poor soul who was forced to work as Serizawa's page.
Forced? So he didn't volunteer to join the Shinsengumi?
Nope. Serizawa picked Ryunosuke up off the street. Kid could barely cut it out there. He told us every day about how stupid he thought warriors were, but out of respect for Serizawa for saving him, he did whatever he was told to do. Even when Serizawa would knock the hell out of him at times. He had so many chances to make a break for it, but he never left till Serizawa finally kicked the bucket.
So, how did Serizawa, pass away?
Well, we killed him.
It came out of Heisuke's mouth so nonchalantly. Serizawa's behavior became impossible to ignore, so the leaders ordered his death. Even with him being a fury, they killed him. Following this whole debacle, the man known as Ibuki disappeared.
Soma, remember how you had that woodblock print when I first met you? The picture was of the former chief of the Shinsengumi, Kamo Serizawa, in his fury form.
Ah, so we were all right about that.
I see. So that's why all of you freaked out when you saw I had it.
Yep, Ryunosuke is the only person who could have drawn Serizawa in his fury form.
Come to think of it, I remembered everyone showing signs of relief upon seeing the picture. Heisuke paused from telling his story for a moment. Then he looked at Soma.
Hey, Soma, I know we kind of put you on the spot back then, but could I ask you something? How did you get a hold of that drawing?
I lost my traveling expenses in Edo, and there was an artist who took me in and fed me. I owe him so much because during that time, he gave me one of his drawings that he liked, and he told me to sell it to put some money in my pocket.
So, that man was Ibuki then?
I guess so. However, I don't think he meant to give me that woodblock on purpose. He had me choose one out of his whole collection, and when I chose that one, he kinda jumped. But I was very, very enchanted by this particular work of art. It just looked so real, as if it was alive.
And then that woodblock brought you all the way here to the Shinsengumi. Sounds like fate, huh?
After finishing his story, Heisuke seemed to feel a great pang of relief after letting out a big sigh.
Honestly, more than anything, I'm happy to hear Ryunosuke's alive. He was kind of forced into the Roshigumi, and because he lived with us, he got sucked into all our craziness. It would have been so sad if it ended up killing him, so it really makes me happy to hear he's okay.
Judging by Heisuke's relief, I could sense that Heisuke and Ibuki were really close back in the day. It seemed as if knowing Ibuki was alive brought in some well-needed perspective. For what it's worth, Heisuke, I think we feel the same about you. I'm also really happy to hear you're alive, no matter what may have happened.
I'm sure Ibuki would have been happy to hear that you're still alive too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Heisuke paused, squinting to think for a second, then turned his back on us and began to walk off.
Jeez, you guys, don't get too soft on me.
When he turned around again, he was wearing the smile that so perfectly fit the old Heisuke. As he was slowly dissolving into the darkness, I noticed Heisuke looked smaller than usual. Even then, he did his best to provide us some cheer at the end of it all. He looked into the distance longingly. It was clear Heisuke wasn't who he used to be. I wonder what'll become of Heisuke.
I think he'll eventually join the Fury Corps.
You mean he hasn't already? Because he'd already died once, don't you think he'd think twice before fighting again? I don't think they'd let him do anything else. It seems like anyone that's become a Fury from the Shinsengumi is kind of forced to join the Fury Corps or die. I mean, I shouldn't have been one to presume how Heisuke might have felt, but knowing how much this has affected him, I couldn't help but ask. Soma began muttering to himself, but his voice had felt a little sympathetic.
I think I understand where Toto could be coming from. For example, if I were to cross swords with powerful swordsmen like Kazuma or Miki, I would do anything to protect you, but my skill alone wouldn't be enough. Now we have something that makes the impossible possible, a strength that could make protecting you from anything a possible task.
I wanted so badly to say, please don't. But there was nothing I could really say. You could have said that.
I don't know if I'd reject that chance.
Soma looked to me as if beckoning me to smile, but I couldn't bring myself to answer him. Oh. The cold frost of winter was so invasive that even the inside of the compounds were freezing. Okita? I had been visiting Okita's room, but I stopped folding laundry to call out to him. It's getting really cold outside. If you keep being exposed to the wind, I don't think it's good for you. Why don't we close the door and let you rest a little?
I'm fine. Dr. Matsumoto said so himself, and it's good for me to air out the room from time to time. Besides, I don't think it's doing me any better if you keep treating me like a terminal patient.
Oh, but you kinda are. Okay, you might have a point. Okita chuckled at his own joke, and he looked toward the trees in the inner yard. Seeing Okita like this was nice, as if he was becoming more like his usual self. But in reality, I knew it was different. Even at this moment, his illness was surely eating away at his body. As of late, Okita was having difficulty in even holding his sword.
Hey, Chizuru, every time you had that little sad face, you're really bumming me out.
Oh, sorry. I rushed to meet his eyes, and he stared deeply back into my own. Don't do that when I'm not on your route. It hurts. Suddenly, he spoke up.
Come to think of it, Chizuru, you sure have been close with Soma lately.
Are you jealous? Really?
Yeah, really. I see you two together all the time.
Well, it could probably be because we were tasked with the same duties. After all, Soma Nomura and I are all pages.
Huh, it didn't mean like that, though.
Huh? I was playing coy to Okita, but he was already wearing his normal smug expression, like he wanted to say something just to provoke a response. Oh, but now that you mention it, you may be right. It's true, I've been spending a lot of time with Soma lately. It wasn't only because of our duties as pages either. If I thought about it, it felt as if I spent at least half of my day every day with him. I'd become quite used to him being by my side all the time.
Speak of the devil? Excuse me, Okita. Oh, hello, Yukimura. Didn't know you were here.
Oh!
Huh? What's the matter, Yukimura?
Nothing. In came Soma with a platter, and I couldn't help but stare at him considering his timing. Soma seemed a little nervous that he was the center of attention, but he continued toward Okita.
Okita, I bought your porridge. Oh, just leave it. I'll eat it when I feel like it.
Which might be never, 'cause you don't eat your food a lot of times. But we'll find out in the next episode, 'cause we're gonna have to cut that one off here. Aw man, I'm so glad we actually got some story about Ibuki, even though, it would be nice to actually get the whole game ourselves at some point, but at least we got a summarization. And like I said, there is the anime season of it if you guys want to check that out, because that'll explain a little bit more even. But to continue on Kazue Souma's route, I hope to see you in the next video or some of my other ones, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.